It's a white one, just for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 6:30. Thank you for being here. If you would stand up and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Brad Brunder.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to do roll call now to establish presence of the quorum. Ward 1.
Here.
Ward 2.
Here.
He said here. Y'all can't hear him. He's right there. Ward 3.
Here.
Ward 4.
Here.
Mayor here. We're all present. We do have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. I have got 3 folks here that want to address things other than the public hearing. If you're here to talk about the TERS, the public hearing is where you'll get to talk then, so you don't have to worry about right now. First one got Patrick Kane.
Good evening, Patrick Kane, 1123 East Cedar Street, Rockport. I want to clarify the discussion during the last council meeting with regards to the payment in lieu of taxes and franchise fees, which total almost $900,000. First, thank you for asking the question of Wildan. Mr. Jackson answered the question by stating these fees are, and this is a quote, used to reimburse the general fund for the services that the general fund provides the utility. For example, you, city council, city manager, all of you support the water and sewer system, but you're not paid for out of the utility fund. And so for that reason, cities typically have this kind of indirect charge in order to reimburse the general fund for the support that it provides, end quote. I'll restate the last part of his answer, which was this kind of indirect charge is in order to reimburse the general fund for the support that it provides. What he didn't state was the utilities are already reimbursing the general fund for the support. So in addition to transfers that are made for facilities, vehicles, and other items, the city is also transferring $633,000 for administrative salaries. The city clearly sees the utilities as a cash cow. You're double dipping by taking $894,000 in franchise fees while charging $633,000 for administrative support. You're also going to generate an additional $2.3 million in revenue in FY25 by basing your utility rates on a 9.85% rate of return for the water system and 9.19% for the wastewater system. Why do you think it is okay to double dip and in essence increase our utility rates? And when is enough going to be enough? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Next to have Kate, and I can't read your last name, starts with a P if you're here. There you are. Thank you. Come up to the podium and give us your name and address. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Kate Putz. I live at, well, technically I own 2612 FM 3036. I watched the prior 2 meetings on the CUP, and I just wanted to have a little bit of additional information that seemed like it wasn't brought up at the last one. And I have a couple of questions about it too. The first is, when I first met my new neighbors, we had purchased the property before them. They had decided to jump our fence, cut down our property so that way they could see a view of our pond. We did approach them in great disgust of how they had behaved, and at that time had asked them to, 1, never do it again, 2, to replant what they had done because we did not want to look at their RV. They had promised us that they were going to do this. They have not in the 2 years that they have been there, and since then have not had any communication with them. We've kind of just left them alone. But we did watch the last 2, my husband and I, and at that point she said she had no neighbors. That's not true. She's met us before. She does know that we own the property next door that owns the pond. The other thing is we are very worried that that is going to become a projectile to the house that we have been talking to the city about getting electricity, getting water, getting permits to cut down trees to build our home. And with the fact that potentially they may not live there long-term, getting that CUP, then we have the problem of what happens with our next neighbors? What happens to this property when it can't have electricity and it can't have anyone in it and it becomes derelict? And then becomes even more hurricane fodder later. I think it's a dangerous precedent to allow someone to circumvent, but even more so, someone who works in the real estate community. Her husband is a developer. They know the rules and regulations. They've known them for many years, and they decided to disregard them and are now asking for an exception, knowing full well that they did not follow the proper paths. And then what allows to occur after that is other people putting pieces of property that may not meet the current city regulations, and then having that occur and occur and occur. So we're just asking that, you know, we saw the other two, that those kinds of things be in consideration. My last question is what happens when they violate this? Because every time I spoke with them, they said it was a guest home, not an office. And so what happens if they're using it as a guest home and not an office? What happens if it does turn into a projectile? What kind of responsibilities do they have? What penalizations are going to occur should they not follow the CUP? And what happens when they move? Are they required to move it? Because in the past, they have made promises and they have not followed through on those. And all we asked was them to plant plants so we didn't have to look at it. And that was not done in 2 years. So my concern is not really being able to do anything other than go by their word, I guess is probably the best thing. And that's my time.
Thank you, ma'am. Next I have Patricia Olenek.
I'd just like to, I'd just like to speak in support of the pool. I'm an RN of over 45 years, Patricia Olenek, and 1141 Oak Avenue, and a regular lap swimmer. And I want to point out that in our wonderful community, we have tremendous resources for ecology, conservation, tourism, and I think our values also should and do. Our values reflect valuing health, and that swimming is a very unique health activity. I'm still in active clinical practice, and every day I see diabetes, 1/3 of which is undiagnosed until we pick it up, hypertension that's out of control, obesity, et cetera. But the unique thing about swimming is you can exercise in the heat without getting overheated. People very commonly have arthritis. We have a large elderly population. We have a large veteran population. And the water, particularly since it's a heated pool, provides support for the joints so that they can maintain mobility. Again, we have a lot of cardiac issues that just running and bicycling and even walking in the heat can cause serious complications. The pool swimming is uniquely good for asthma, other lung functions. For weight loss, I have visually seen through the years many people lose 50 to 100 pounds as I watch them lap swim very diligently. And we have a lot of orthopedic conditions here that people have surgery, and the recovery can be prolonged, and it is very much facilitated by the pool because it's a non-weight-bearing activity. And you can talk to any of the physical therapists in the region that is part of the rehab is using the pool. So I understand the budgetary considerations, and I just want to speak in favor of the pool as a good health benefit for our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Olenek. Next item on the agenda is a consent agenda. Following items may be acted upon in a single motion. No separate discussion or action on any of these items will be held unless pulled at the request of a member of the city council. Council, you wish to remove either of those items?
You want to make a motion to approve agenda item?
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? Not, we'll call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. It's unanimous. Next item on the agenda, ordinances, resolutions, and public hearing. Item number 6. Wait, I skipped a whole group there. some people were waiting to hear us talk about the budget too. I went right past it, not on purpose. Item number 6, budget and tax rate related items. Item number 3, consider the approval of the second final reading of ordinance 1941, amending the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, Chapter 82, Solid Waste, Article 2, Refuse Collection, to Section 82.39, Fee Schedule, repealing all prior ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for publication and providing an effective date. No changes since first reading. Council have any questions?
I move to approve item 3 as presented.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? If not, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye, it's unanimous. Item number 4, consider approval of an agreement with the Aransas County Tax Assessor Collector to act as a tax assessment collector for the City of Rockport. Mr. Sherrill.
This is an annual agreement that we have with the Tax Assessor Collector's Office. She collects, Anna collects for a couple of different entities, including Rockport, Fulton ISD, Town of Fulton, Aransas County Mud, and some others. So she prorates her budget based upon the levies. And so she prorates her budget and bills us accordingly. So instead of us having to collect our own taxes, she does it on our behalf. Let me back up and do that. So, and you'll notice that and she does a lot of work. She's very helpful, very easy to work with, does a lot of the tax notices, advertising. She'll do that directly with the paper on our behalf, and gives us guidance in terms of how to handle and what verbiage that we need to use as the years change on both the budget side as well as the tax side. So we're very fortunate to have someone with her skills. So in this annual agreement, you'll see that it went up by a little over 5,000 from last year, and that's based upon the prorated levy. Our percentage went up from last year, and so that's what's driving more of this increase. So we're asking for this agreement to be approved, please.
All right. Questions, council?
I just want to clarify, we have to do it based off the levy.
Her percentages are based
That's
upon.
a requirement from us.
Oh, I don't know if it's required, but that's how she's been allocating that over the years is based on the levy. So it's consistent. But she's been consistently applying this each year. Her overall budget went up just very small. Is a very small percentage as compared to what our levy percentage was. That was.
And I know she does a lot, and why I'm asking this is because normally, if you look at the last couple of years, it's only been in a couple thousand, and this year it goes up to 5,000. So I just want to know, like, the levy, just explain that a little bit more, why we're paying so much more if her budget just went up a little bit more.
Well, part of it is increase in the values and the valuations. The other part is that we went up to full voter approved last year. We did at the increment is what we're asking for as well this year. But that being said, it made it higher. Still, the levy was higher. Again, we went up voter approved plus the increment, and that with the increase in values caused that to be a higher percentage.
I think it's safe to say we couldn't do this in-house for $25,000.
No, sir. No, sir.
Other questions?
It's nice to have another set of eyes as well on it.
Sure.
Yes.
I move to approve item 4 as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? We'll call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. It's unanimous. Next item on the agenda, number 5, announcement of upcoming budget and tax rate meetings. September the 3rd, there'll be a special meeting at 6:30 here in this room with a public hearing on the tax rate and first reading of the ordinance. The next meeting will be September 10th. The regular city council meeting will be at 6:30 here in this room with the second reading, tax rate, and the only reading of the budget. Next is ordinances, resolutions, and public hearings that I tried to get to a little while ago, I guess. Item number 6, consider approval of the second and final reading of ordinance 1942 granting conditional use permit for the purpose of allowing the use of Park Model RV as an office on the property located at 2562 FM 3036, also known as 76 Joseph Hollis Survey, 2.131 acres, City of Rockport, Aransas County, Texas, subject to compliance with conditions stated within this ordinance, as well as those stipulated in the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, repealing all ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Ms. Dietrich.
Good evening. First, I want to apologize for not being here for the last meeting. It couldn't be helped. I wanted to talk about this cup request because staff highly recommends denial. This is allowing an RV to be used as an occupied dwelling or office on residentially used property. Code enforcement and I are both getting calls from other folks wanting to know when this passes, can they come get a cup for their RV? I don't think this is a precedent we want to set. I don't believe this is something we want to see move forward in the City of Rockport, because you will. I mean, and I know each case has to come individually and be taken on its own merits, but when we start approving cups for this type of use, we're just bypassing the zoning regulations, just going completely around them. And I wholeheartedly disagree with the approval of this cup.
Questions?
I think I have more of something to say than a question. I do appreciate the adjacent property owner coming forward and providing a little bit more information for us. I think that's important for us to get a neighbor's point of view. She made a really good point. You know, the professions these property owners are in, they know better. They know the rules, they know the regulations. I know we voted for it, but I do agree. I think that we are setting a negative precedence that this may become a bigger issue. So that's something we probably need to consider tonight.
In light of the new, I don't want to say testimony, but from the neighbor, that we didn't have any opposition, I don't believe, at P&Z or our first council meeting. This is the first time we've heard true opposition to it, which is good to hear, especially from the adjacent landowners, as you said. And that being said, it makes it tough, and I don't want to set a precedence that that we're getting a cup every meeting for something like this, because it is a violation of our code of ordinances and the zoning ordinance. And I believe that was kind of what you were getting at last meeting, Mayor Pro Tem, is that what we're going to be setting ourselves up for, is a cup every meeting? I move to postpone this to the next meeting so that we can get with staff and maybe discuss this a little bit more.
I'm gonna second that, and just to I'm gonna second it so we can discuss it a little bit more. I do agree. I think that there's a better way to handle these situations. I think that what we're doing is just not gonna, it's gonna go down a road that we don't wanna go down. We need to have everyone on the same guidelines and rules and regulations. So I'm okay with seconding that.
Okay. I have a motion to postpone until our next regular meeting, which will be the 10th of September, I believe. Is there any question on that? If not, I'll ask for a vote. Ward 1.
Mayor, I'm sorry, you had a written comment from Andrew Kane on this matter.
Sorry.
Brad's got it. Sorry about that.
Sorry, Mr. Kane. Andrew Kane, 2106 Lakeview Drive, item number 6. Please read. This RV is 399 square foot for a very specific purpose. The owners bought this RV at 399 square feet for the sole purpose of avoiding property taxes on this structure on their property. If an RV is less than 400 square feet, the tires are left on it, and the tongue of the trailer, which can be removed, must stay readily available. Property taxes cannot be levied on it. This is because I know this because I bought for that specific reason last year, to avoid property taxes. It is not a tiny home nor a tiny office. It is titled and registered as an RV. Therefore, it is 100% against codes set forth in our city ordinances. If you allow this, you will open the door for more of these all over the city. Y'all removed the coffee shack downtown already because it didn't meet code. In the last meeting, city staff recommended a no vote because it is 100% not allowed. The city attorney warned if you okayed this and didn't another for a like request, it would be a selective enforcement. If you allow this, I promise there will be more requests. I wanted to do one 10 years ago and was denied. I will reapply. I'm also a dealer for many plans of these 399 square foot RVs and intend to market them for use in the city limits. It is an easier sell when the buyers can add an office and not have to pay property taxes on them. If you want to allow this, then change the ordinance to allow them for everyone, but no, 399 square feet or less avoids property taxes. Until then, I urge you to vote no. This person we should not feel bad for, considering they knew exactly what they were doing when they ordered one and set one up at 399 square feet. In the last meeting, she briefly mentioned she already noticed it was on her property taxes, and she went down to the appraisal district to complain. In their line of business, they were well aware they needed to get a permit and were well aware this RV would not add to their property taxes. They tried to pull a fast one and got caught, and now come before you asking for a cup when they knew better.
All right, thank you. All right. Further question? Again, we'll call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. It is unanimous. It is reset for the next regular meeting, 10th of September. Next item on the agenda is consider the approval of second final reading of ordinance 1943, amending the official zoning map as stipulated under Article 4.1 of the City of Rockport zoning ordinance number 1027 by changing zoning of land from B1 General Business District for property located at 2202 FM 3036, also known as lots 64A, 64B, 64C, as shown on the Kokomo PH6 preliminary plat, and lot 65, block 1, Kokomo PH2, more accurately described on the attached Exhibit A to R2 Second Single Family Dwelling District, repealing all ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. Any changes since last time? Any questions, council?
I make a motion to approve agenda item number 7.
I have a motion to approve. I have a second.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? Not, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Aye. Mayor, it's unanimous. Item number 8, consider the approval of the second final reading ordinance 1944, establishing the Convention and Visitors Bureau Advisory Board and providing for the duties of such board, providing severability clause, providing an effective date. Ms. Schroner.
Mayor and council, we made the changes that were requested in the last meeting. They're highlighted in your packet. And other than that, nothing else in here has changed.
Any other questions?
I move to approve item 8 as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? Not, we'll call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. It's unanimous. Item number 9, consider the approval of second and final reading ordinance 1945, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 106, Vegetation, Article 1, General, Section 106-7, Tree Mitigation and Preservation Account, repealing all ordinances to the extent that they are in conflict, providing for severability, providing for penalties, providing an effective date. Any changes? Have been no changes. Do I have questions?
I make a motion to approve agenda item number 9.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? If not, we will call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. It's unanimous. Item number 10. Consider creation of a reinvestment zone, number 1, TERS. Ms. Schroner.
Mayor, we have a public hearing, but I wanted to remind you that we've been working on this for a long time. Travis, our consultant, has been in front of most of you 4 times. I don't think he's got any and Matt got the first one. We had a work session on June 25th. On July 23rd, the finance plan was presented to this council in a presentation, and then it was posted on the web. August 12th, we had a Q&A at the Rock. August 9th, we posted everything on social media and our website. The public hearing has run twice in the paper, so we've done a substantial amount of public input work on this to make sure that everybody's educated and knows exactly what we are intending to do. And outside of that, I will welcome any questions.
We will open the public hearing. Before we do that, I've got a few things I would like to suggest to you because there are a lot of you here that are very interested in this particular item. I have 40+ typed out and written out and emailed forms of folks that have things that they would like to have mentioned and said at this meeting. It would take somewhere around an hour and a half to 2 hours to read all of those if you would like to have them read. If you submitted one of these and would like to stand up here and take your 3 minutes and tell us your feeling on the subject, we will be happy to hear that. Other than that, what I plan on doing, if it meets with the majority of y'all's approval, is to read off the names of the folks who support it and the names of any of those who entered any kind of a piece of paper or motion or whatever on their behalf, not for the council, to oppose it. I have got several folks that came in and turned in cards, and I will call you and you can come up here and speak your piece on the matter. And anyone else here who wants to talk on this subject will have an opportunity to do that. So first thing I want to know from y'all is, how many of y'all sent in something that we got in the computer and it's got your opinion and what you think about this particular subject? How many of y'all want to come up and stand up here and either read, I'll give you your form so that you can get all your notes. How many of you want to do that? Or any of you that want to stand up here and talk? When I call your name, we'll get to you. I think, Jack, I've got one from you on citizens to be heard. I'm going to start out with these cards that were filled out since these people got here and let them have their time. After that, we'll go back, and if you're on this list, I'm going to let you talk if you want your 3 minutes. Is that all right? I'm glad to hear it. I have a card from Eamon Burke.
Thank you very much. My name is Eamon Burke. I live in Ward 1. I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily clearly in favor or opposed. The more that I understand about this program, it's fairly ambivalent. It has to do with how it's managed in the long run. I submitted something for y'all to read. If you could read it, sounds like you got a lot to read, but I would appreciate it. In the end, I just wanted to emphasize to everybody on the council that the most important decision here is who you appoint to this board, to the people that get to operate this fund and how it gets dispersed. It's not just a fundraiser. They will have decision-making authority that is a great public trust. They're going to be making decisions that will affect business owners, that will affect the character of our community, that will affect growth and opportunity. Depending on who is on that board, it will change the outcome for the whole city of Rockport. Knowing that the people that are on that board have the best interests at heart for homeowners and people who live here, families, people who actually are native to Rockport, I think is of paramount importance, because downtown Rockport is not a deteriorated slum. It has been doing great in the last couple of years, but while they will have the ability to promote the area and create a huge amount of opportunity and prosperity, they could also create a very indistinct facade for our downtown area that would be no different from Port Aransas or Galveston or anywhere else. So the most important thing, both now and in the future, will be who's on that board. So my encouragement is just for you guys, once the board is appointed, I would encourage you all to set them to producing some kind of general statement that will act as a creed of values and intentions for the TERS. It will provide discernment, clarity, and transparency down the road as the downtown area is transformed by future growth. Because I believe this is a matter of great public trust, and we will be trusting these people to make the right decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Scott Hine? Okay. Marshall Reed?
Hello, I'm Marcia Reed. I live at 105 Forest Hills. As a property owner and a business owner for 15 years on Austin Street, I am in complete support of the TERS. I only view this as a win-win for everyone. The city wins with the potential for revenue to do the many projects that are needed in our city. The heart of our city, downtown Rockport, mainly Austin Street, but also the whole district, the Heritage District, the Art District, is the heart of our city, and there are so many updates that are needed. We need desperately the street repairs, drainage, beautification, and all of this can be addressed with the additional revenue that is potentially from the TERS. These items, I understand the city cannot afford at this time, but in any downtown, when we have a tourist industry, that is what people see when they come here, and they are expecting the best, and we need to do what we can in order to make that happen. Of course, the developer is going to win as they see the return on their investment. The only thing I've heard against this is people not wanting Rockport to change. Rockport is changing and growing, and we have to be able to meet those needs. The TERS will give us the potential to get ahead of new ideas and new projects, the infrastructure, rather than trying to fix something after it's broken. TERS is an opportunity to improve our growing community without tax increases to property owners. Again, this sounds like a win-win to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Jennifer Day.
Thank you, Council. Jennifer Day. I reside at 902 East Cornwall Street in Rockport. I am one of the very few full-time residents who live in the downtown cultural arts district and heritage overlay districts. And I also own a business within these districts. A cultural district is a designated area within a community that focuses on promoting the arts and its cultural heritage. These districts are designated by the State Commission on the Arts, whose goal is to stimulate economic development and community revitalization through the arts, community engagement, economic impact, preservation and revitalization, and through partnerships and collaboration. I am speaking to you today to communicate my support of the TIERS proposal for the downtown area development, and also communicate the alignment of TIERS goals with that of a state cultural district. Both promote economic potential, generate economic activity, encourage business and job development. Both address specific needs of a community, contributing to improvements in public spaces and infrastructure, such as parks, waterfronts, pedestrian corridors, along with property development. Both foster the unique cultural character of the area and ignite economic revitalization, help preserve historical and cultural landmarks, and infuse the needed infrastructure support and enhance the overall attractiveness of the community. Myself and my husband, James Russell Day Jr., support the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack Wright.
You know, you'd think since I can control the font, I would type this bigger so I didn't need the glasses, but such is life. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased and actually excited to speak to you about the TERS and what it would mean for this community. This property has been vacant for 40 years, plus or minus, and it would remain vacant and undeveloped for another 40 if you had to rely on traditional development. The city does not now and never would have the funds to provide the infrastructure for an interested developer. I guess I was a little concerned with the potential environmental issues personally, but research I was pointed to explained that that's actually one of the requirements of a TERS, is it either be blighted or that to be environmental concerns. In this case, both are present. This project has no impact on existing taxpayers. How many times in your life have you been able to say that? This is important. Time is right to move forward, and the community is behind you, with a few exceptions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Brett Bond? There he is.
Hello, I'm Brett Bone. I live at 112 South Water Street. Been blessed to be part of the Rockport community since the 1860s. My immediate family has been, and hope that there's another 150 years of family behind me. I've also personally been involved in political subdivision creations, of which a TERS is, for over 40 years, created over 20 of them. They are the conduit and the facility of which this downtown project needs. The Bass property, I've studied it for 20 years, and the issues that face it will not be able to be addressed without the political subdivision and the TERS that needs to be created to allow for the infrastructure development, not only for that project, but for the rest of downtown and also for the rest of the city and the community. It can't happen without it. I strongly support it. I hope that everybody in our community gets behind it and supports it as well. I thank everybody here for their hard work so far in trying to make this happen. And so, thank y'all very much.
Thank you. John Jackson?
My name is John Jackson, a multi-generational resident of Rockport at 312 Olympic Drive. I want to reiterate my support for establishing a TERS to promote vitality and growth in downtown. In addition to providing funds that will help pay for infrastructure improvements, including drainage in all of the downtown, it will specifically encourage the proposed development on the Rockport Harborfront land, which will include retail, commercial, a hotel, a boardwalk, and public park, all while providing public access to the harborfront for the first time in over 100 years. I have a very unique perspective because the Jackson family owned and operated a business on this property for 84 years, from 1906 to 1990. And I spent much of my younger life working on this land, and even spent 17 years of my adult life after college working on it and our business, and now I'm the last adult Jackson heir. After the major shrimping industry downturn in the 80s, we sold our waterfront acreage to the Bass family as part of our exit strategy. I had always envisioned a multi-use development similar to the vision being currently proposed to the city of Rockport, and of course the Basses recognized that potential as well, or they wouldn't have done it. All prior prospective developers on this property have faced challenges due to size, scope, remediation cost, and the significant cost for necessary improvements to upgrade public infrastructure. I'm aware of each of them and convinced that not one of them has been able to accomplish it, primarily because of the immense hurdle for financing those costs. But now there can be an economic development tool to finance that infrastructure by establishing a tax increment reinvestment zone, or TERS. and to do so without an increase in taxes for local citizens. A TERS can not only finance public infrastructure without raising taxes, but it will also enhance the quality of life and other downtown redevelopment. With over 460 TERSs in Texas, a TERS is a valuable instrument established by the Texas Tax Code for helping with projects just like this. And as I said, I firmly believe that all prior attempts failed because they did not have the benefit of a TERS. We've waited for this for 35 years, so I strongly feel this is time to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
I have one to read. Andrew Kane, 2106 Lakeview Drive, Rockport. Please read for me. Slow this down. The agenda packet was only updated to include the tours info today, and we have only until 3 p.m. to submit a comment. Most have jobs, and that is not transparent to limit our ability to review the information. Sounds like Nancy Pelosi saying we have to pass it to know what's in it. This is a decision that will be a 25-year, $30 million decision of taxpayer funds. Why not ask the developer for a draft developer's agreement before you create a tiers they are requesting, so you find out what obligations we will have to honor before you create it? You will find the first 30 to 35 million will be owed him first and not the projects in the tiers. We quote, might want to unquote. Do the local businesses understand they will be funding a new competitor to their shops that will take money from their businesses, and this new competitor for their goods and services will be funded by their tax dollars? This is a ton of money over a very long term, and the citizens just got the info included in the packet today. When things are rushed through blindly, not allowing citizen input, it leads one to think that there is something suspicious going on with tens of millions of taxpayer money, or y'all not willing to take your time so everyone, including myself, can understand the implications and details of such a tax kickback to a private developer of tens of millions of dollars. Let's slow it down, be transparent. If this is a good deal, let's take the time needed or allow citizens to read the information and voice their concerns. I urge you to table this and not act on it tonight, and give everyone a chance for input and questions to be asked. There is no rush unless there are things to hide. I hope for a fast motion to table this, please.
Next card I have is from Scarlett Embry. You had indicated you'd like to speak last. Do you want to go after all this long list of people, or would you like to speak now? Okay. I am going to check with everybody that sent us things and see if they want to talk to us. Okay, right ahead.
Mayor, City Council members, thank you for your consideration for the TERS. As you know, my husband, Doak Embry, and I are the development team for the Harbor Front with an exciting development that is pending on the TERS. A TERS is a tool that allows developers to invest in public infrastructure, convey that infrastructure to the city, and then get reimbursed by the added value created within the zone for that infrastructure. It creates a win-win situation. Tonight, if you vote yes, you'll be voting for the creation of the zone, and then developers like myself and my husband, we can submit a development agreement, which will be a second consideration. You know us by now, and you know our plans and our commitment to the success and future of Rockport. Nothing has changed in our plans, but we would like to be on record that we support the TERS, not just for our project, but for the greater downtown and its benefit to the community. We look forward to moving forward, and we appreciate all of your efforts and time that you've taken to learn and understand what the TERS is as a tool for economic growth and prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, like I said, I'm going to read off this list, and if you are here and you would like to speak, fine. But what I'm telling you is that this list is people that approve and are in favor of the TERS going through, and we're not gonna try to read everything you wrote on here. If you would like to come up here and say what you want to say, you are welcome to. You have 3 minutes. So when I read off your name, if you're here and you want to speak, wave at me real good, because if not, I'm gonna go on to the next person. First person on the list is Karen Mella. All right. Betty Stiles. Diane Probst. Amy Garcia. Jerry Brundrett. Mitchell McMahon. Michael Abels. Richard Dias. Michelle Simmons. Patrick Rios. Andrew Hernandez. Lisa Hernandez. Kay Rester, or S. Chatterton of Moon Over Water Galley. Pamela Harkins. Stan Irvin. Janice Halderman. Rita Matthews. Nancy Bolting. Brett Bolting. Ian Heffron. Bonnie Carlisle. Kevin Carlisle. Elizabeth Green. Elizabeth Green opposed the TERS. Janae Evans. Carla Kruger Belair. Molly Baker. Shanna Brader. Betty Papal. Bobby Papal. Hannah Ferry. Rebecca Bagby. Louise Perrone. Stephen Levy. Lindsay Stanford. Patty McLeod. Laura Denham. Robert Cavazos. Phil Salami. Michael Canterbury. Smith Wynn. Michaela Alston. And I have one that wanted to speak and didn't tell us what he was going to say, and he's next, Jeff Jostrom.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. In August of 2006, Half Associates created a vision for Rockport, a master plan for the Heritage District in downtown Rockport. In that report, it talked about the diversity of the businesses downtown. They identified key issues for improving downtown and diversifying the downtown area, including parking, circulation, land use, open space, public restrooms, undeveloped lands, and the development of the waterfront. They quoted, "The single most significant action that can benefit downtown is the development of the waterfront property." Suggested uses included condominiums, retail, restaurants, facilities for parking, boat slips, and marina supplies. They added public spaces along the waterfront would be a key feature to draw pedestrian traffic to and from the waterfront, noting in particular a continuous pedestrian promenade along the waterfront as desirable. Now, 18 years later, the report also provided a number of potential funding mechanisms for the public and private sector to consider for these types of development. A TERS was one of those tools that was highlighted. In reviewing your City of Rockport Comprehensive Plan 2022 to 2044, I think, the development of the TERS as you are considering appears compatible with the goals, vision, and recommendations contained within the plan. In Chapter 3, Development, Chapter 6, the Economy, and Chapter 8, Facilities, including the Cultural Arts District and amenities. With regard to this TERS, we have discussed before, it's a performance-based incentive. If future development does not occur or future investments don't deliver the added tax base, rebates of a future increment are either significantly reduced or not granted at all. Capital investments and infrastructure improvements must be invested first. The school district is not being asked to participate in this TERS. City Council retains the right of approving and/or denying recommendations of the TERS board, closing or ending the TERS, deciding whether the TERS will be pay-as-you-go or consider issuing bonds, and setting the split between the private sector and the city, in this case 60-40, as has been talked preliminarily. A TERS is a viable economic development tool that must be managed. Transparency for this project is critical, and aside from the annual report that must be submitted to the state, there needs to be an annual review locally of the progress, status, and milestones being realized for this project. Finally, I'd like to thank you and city staff. For as long as the property has remained vacant, infrastructure improvements have been on the books, and for the financial constraints and limitations that confront you as a city. You are helping to propel the viability and profitability of our downtown businesses and community overall. Thank you for exploring a different path forward, as opposed to simply maintaining the status quo and hoping something organically is going to change our path forward.
Thank you, Mr. Coster. And that is all of the paperwork that I've got from folks that indicated they would like to speak. Have I missed anybody?
Mayor, is it okay if we read the one that's in opposition? All those were in favor. Is it in your ward?
No, but her name's Elizabeth Green. I just think that it's fair that we read out the opposition as it's the minority of.
It's got a green thing on it right there.
Boardwalk?
Just read it.
Oh, thanks. Elizabeth Green, 104 Boardwalk Avenue, Rockport. You sold the Downtown Tiers project as a catalyst for downtown development. Why are you going to give our tax dollars away to the first developer to come along? That's ridiculous, especially when you're raising taxes 26%. Our harborfront is a very limited commodity, and another developer will come along with terms more favorable to the city and its citizens. Adding more storefronts while retail sales are down across the city doesn't make sense and will likely put many out of business. Increased property values in the area will also add to the bottom line of shop owners who own or rent, also potentially driving them out of business. And lastly, how can you propose this plan with numbers missing? There are big yellow areas where numbers should be. Slow down, get a better plan instead of trying to jam this through so quickly.
Any questions, council?
I just have a couple of comments.
Still have an opportunity in public hearing, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
If you want to speak.
Thank you. Patrick Kane, 1123 East Cedar Street, Rockport. I'm, like everyone else in this room, I'm excited about the opportunity to develop the downtown harborfront. However, I'm opposed to this TERS. No one talked numbers tonight. I looked at what was posted today late, but I did stop what I was doing and looked at it, and the numbers don't make sense. Over 25 years, you want to give $16.3 million to a developer, right? And in that same time frame, the city would keep $10.9 million. The data that's missing from the study that I pulled these numbers from is how much would you have kept if you just left and did no development, right? Assuming HEB property doesn't develop or anything else, you'd keep $4.6 million on your base, because that base inflates in valuation each year. So I used the 3%. So holding your tax rate the same, you would keep $4.6 million. So there's a $6 million difference between what you believe you'll earn and what you would earn automatically. So what do you get for $6 million? Well, you divide that over 25 years, that is $252,000 a year. Do you really think the city can maintain all this new public infrastructure, a play park, you know, a boardwalk, everything else for $252K, right? You're talking extra city employees, extra policing, more volunteer fire, go down the list. This is a major development, and you're keeping, you know, 252 out of less than $1 million a year that would be earning at that time. Just the numbers don't make sense, right? And a lot of people behind me was saying, oh, you guys are just against anything new in Rockport. No, what I'm against is abuse of taxpayer dollars. We got the same sales pitch for City Hall that, oh, you know, we need this. Hey, I agree, we needed a new City Hall. I don't think we needed what we got, and we couldn't afford it. But we were told the whole time, oh, this is affordable, we won't have to raise taxes. Well, guess what? Last 3 years, city tax has gone up 60%. 60%. You can look up those numbers. If anyone wants to challenge me, I'll be glad to show them where I pulled the data from. Right, so here's another sales pitch. There's no way that this has no impact on existing taxpayers. It absolutely is. You cannot afford this project. To make it happen, you're going to have to pull in tax base from the rest of the city, like a sales tax that you're going to generate plus what the TERS is going to create is not enough. Those are your own numbers. $252K a year is what you're going to earn on this project above the base. It's just not enough.
Okay, did we miss anybody else? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Next part of the item number 10, consider the approval of the first of two readings, ordinance 1946 designating a geographic area located within the city of Rockport as a reinvestment zone for tax increment financing purposes pursuant to Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code to be known as Rockport Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 1, describing the boundaries of the zone, establishing a tax increment fund for the zone, creating a board of directors for such zone, providing a date for termination of the zone, containing findings and provisions related to the foregoing subject, providing a severability clause, establishing an effective date, and providing for related matters. Council, what's your pleasure?
So, if I may, so all of the terms of the TERS are what we have been discussing over the last several months. There are some things that need to be filled in based on what you choose tonight. We took the liberty to put the board at 7. It can be between up to 15. That number can be amended, so we started at 7. If you would like more, we can certainly change that or less. Additionally, we've always talked about a 60-40 split. If you would like to do something different, we can fill that in tonight, or we can fill it in with the 60-40 split. And then depending on what you choose there, on this page 5 of 6, if you stay at the 60-40 split, then the number that goes in on page 5 is $16,285,635. I'll take questions.
You want me to start?
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to clarify for the public here, this is not to approve the development itself. This is to approve the zone and to approve doing a board. I want to make sure that's just very clear out there. Development itself has to come into a whole separate meeting with public hearing onto the board so that they come in and make sure that they're actually doing what they need for the city versus doing for the developer. Just want to make sure that's very clear. And on top of that, I just wanted to kind of, Mr. Kane, I appreciate your comments, but let's bring up sales tax, correct? We're a city where we get, our property taxes take most of our taxes, our ad valorem, versus our sales tax, when it should be vice versa. So when we have development deals that come in here, that helps alleviate a lot of the property taxes on our existing taxpayer thing. So yes, it might, with police officers, infrastructure, not stuff, that can actually help supplement a lot of that on that top there. And you are correct, we cannot afford that infrastructure right now, but it's a property that can be sold, a commercial property, anyone can buy that property and do whatever they like, and we still have to take that infrastructure and give it to them. So now we have an opportunity to have someone reinvest into that property and have that infrastructure handled where we are not gonna be able to afford that in the first place. There's back and forth here on both of those parts. I just wanna make sure that those things were cleared up on just a couple of things that you had maybe asked or took in there. This has been in public hearing for many times across the whole town. I know a lot of us went to them and we've been to them and we've asked questions. I've had these numbers in front of me for at least a couple weeks where I've done our research, I've see what's gonna work, what's not gonna work, I've asked questions. So I just wanna make sure that's out there, that this is not just happening tonight. We didn't get the information just today. We really have been considering this, and it's a very big deal, and we're taking it as serious as we possibly can to make sure that we're doing right by our whole town. I just wanted to make sure I put that out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, I do feel like this deserves a lot of scrutiny. So I appreciate everybody that's come out and stated whether it's they're for or against. Your opinions are very important to me. I have been in support of a lot of push for the public information because we want your participation. We want to hear your voices. I made a promise in this position that, you know, not always will my opinion be what matters, but I'll be the voice and the advocate of your voices, whether it's a direct residence you have within my ward or an interest. So I do appreciate the fact that everybody came out in attendance tonight. I do have concerns, but I also have to be hopeful for some positive change too. You know, I think we have a lot of checks and balance within the system as far as the board. I completely agree with Mr. Burke's concern. I think the board is absolutely essential for this to be productive and to produce us what we are looking for out of it. It can't be a socialized group of direct, just narrow-minded incentives based on their own gain. This has to be something, this board has to be represented straight across. So I hope that when we go to develop this, we have particular interests in mind when we look at who needs to be on this board and why and the qualifications in which they should sit. Other than that, I mean, I just appreciate everybody again coming out and participating tonight. So.
I would like to echo statements that have already been given. Just thank you so much. We asked for community input, and not only did we get it, I guess you get what you asked for. We got it. There's been a lot of support for it, and also those that oppose it have put forth some great arguments or some great information regarding that. You know, they didn't have tiers mechanism back in the early 1900s, but the original wood bulkhead that is at the harbor front after the 1919 storm was funded by a sales tax rebate given to us by the state legislature. So all the sales tax coming out of the city of Rockport, for a number of years, they sent it right back to us to pay for the bond of the original wood bulkhead. So public money has been used in the harbor front, I guess for over 100 years. Like Mr. Jackson stated, you know, it was an industrial site and has remained vacant for the last 30-ish years. And I think it's time to develop the downtown harbor front. It's something that can be such a blessing and a gift to the city if done correctly. And I think this is one of the mechanisms that can, the managed growth that we want to see. We don't want to see Rockport become something that nobody wants it to become, but by properly managing it, maybe we can get there and maintain what we know as Rockport. As Ms. Belair stated in hers, you know, there was a lot of opposition to a little development on Frontenac Island back in the 60s, and what we now know as Key Negro wouldn't have happened if somebody named Carl Kruger hadn't had the vision to develop a little Rattlesnake Island and make it into what it is today, Key Negro. That was a blessing for the city. So there's so much opportunity in this area down at the harbor front, and it's time to make it happen. So with that being said, I move to approve item 10 as presented.
Wait, thank you. Matt, we can't hear you very well, but you'll be around for this second reading if it goes through tonight. I got a couple of things I want to say. 2 years ago, when I first thought about running for this office, I told people that the biggest thing and the best thing that could happen for our community is for somebody to come in and develop the harborfront area down there, because property owners, residential property owners, are paying 80% of the taxes, property taxes in our town and our county. And we can't keep doing that. Something has got to change it. And the only thing that is visible to me, and I didn't grow up here like some of the other people that have spoken, but I've been here a long time. I've been here long enough that people say, oh, do you remember Miss So-and-so when we were in the 6th grade? And I tell them, no, I wasn't in the 6th grade here. So I can nearly get by as a hometown person. But I have seen in the past people come and go trying to develop that property, and they couldn't manage to get it done. This is as close as we have been. The only way we can get closer is to go ahead and establish the thing and start filling the board and doing the things it will take to make it work. And we can't do that unless we do it. And I move that we approve item number 10 as read. Yes, sir.
With a couple of questions here in that motion. One is at the 60% rate, is that correct? Okay, and the other item is on page 5 with the that blank that's filled in. That's placed in there, that's y'all's discretion as to whether y'all want to fill in an amount there. Y'all don't have to put an amount in there at all if you don't want to. That can be done at a date when y'all know what the project is actually going to be, and y'all can establish.
We can also do that on second reading, could we not?
That's true, yes.
It does the 60, 40, 50, 50, 70, 30, does that have to be established in this, at this
The
time now?
60%, yeah, yes.
It would, that can't come in the development agreement, or whatever development.
You can make changes later, yes, but that should be in this ordinance right now. Excuse me, ma'am.
We need to establish baselines.
Right.
I think the other thing is, how many people do we want on board? Do you think 7 is enough, or like, do you guys feel like there should be more?
Normally, you don't put in, you don't max out, because
Yeah.
you've got other, if another taxing entity joins with you, you want to be able to expand the board to include their membership as well. You just need a minimum of 5. Of course, as the city manager said, you can have up to 15. But as you get other taxing entities in there, you may want board expansion at that point to allot for those others.
And just real quick, who's establishing the board, and how are you guys gonna go forward to make that board, to get people in the board?
They apply and you appoint.
So that you're gonna put an application out to the public, and then,
The qualifications are in here, and if they meet these qualifications, then they can apply, and then you appoint the board.
Right, so they need to live in the city, own property in the zone, or live in an adjacent county.
I think the forms for applying for those boards are back there too. They were here a little earlier.
I'd like to amend your motion, Mayor. Approve item 10 as presented with a 60% and a 60-40 split, and then a board of 7. Or does that need to be there? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
It's already drafted as 7, just because, but.
I'll second.
Approve the change in the motion.
I will second that.
And then as far as the amount, you want us to just remove that sentence with the
I would just
cap?
remove that.
I think so.
Okay, take it out.
With the changes, second. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there other questions? Not, we'll call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye, it's unanimous. Item number 11, consider approval of the first 2 readings ordinance 1947, amending ordinance number 1911, which adopted the 2023-2024 budget beginning October 1st, 2023, and ending September 30th, 2024, repealing all prior ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for publication, providing for an effective date. Mr. Sorrell.
Thank you. This ordinance, we're seeking to transfer reserves out of the general fund and over into the aquatic fund to help get the pool, we're toward the end of the budget year, of course, but to help get the aquatic fund to the end of the year. We think it's going to be about $70,000. We've made a couple of changes in terms of we reduced one of the positions, or didn't eliminate it, but it remains unfilled to try to help the pool fund get to the end of the year. And part of this, of what's happened here is, one, if we remember, the town of Fulton is no longer contributing to the pool. They pulled out of that agreement. And then also, we've, with Brittany on just starting and hitting it strong, I know she's been charged by the city manager to start bringing festivals and activities to the parks program and pool program that will generate revenue instead of lose revenue. So what we're asking is for $70,000 approval to increase the pool budget to get through the end of the year.
This just is going to cover cost, operating cost and everything for the pool?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Through the end of October? Through the
September. Yes,
September 30th, whatever?
Yes, sir.
I move to approve item 11.
You have a comment on this one.
Oh, yeah.
She read it during the citizens to be heard.
Mrs. Bagley's.
I believe that was her name. I could know it was.
Number 30, will you read your comment? Rebecca did not. It doesn't need to be read. Okay. Good. All right, ma'am.
What?
She's good.
Well, I just remember her speaking.
I move to approve item 11 as presented.
Second.
I have motion and a second. Any further question? Call for vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye, it's unanimous. We're going to take a 10-minute break before we go any further. We've been in here for a while. We will start back at 7:53.
Excuse me, brother. Is this your landlord?
It is a minute later than I said, but we're back in session. Next item on the agenda, other items, action items and updates. Number 12, consider approval of an interlocal agreement with Texas Health Benefits Pool for the administration of the post-65 employee medical insurance.
Mayor, Council, last meeting, we came in with a revamp to our insurance, our health insurance, and the post-65 insurance that we provide is going to stay with TX Health. It'll be separate from what we've approved for staff. So I appreciate your approval on that, and if you have any questions, we will get them answered.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 12 as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? If not, we will call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4. Mayor, aye, it's unanimous.
Aye.
I thought you had your mouth open. I thought I heard it come out.
Talking, too interrupted. Second? I second, yes.
Oh, I heard you say that. Next item, number 13, consider ratifying binding of the 2024-2025 windstorm insurance policy with GSM Insurers for amount not to exceed $471,697.67.
Mayor and Council, this is ratifying something that we've actually already done. We thought it was in the best interest of the city and we have a deadline, but we switched our windstorm insurance from to GSM Insurers. We found when we were updating our schedule that there was a lot of property that was not on our insurance schedule. So we've added all of those things and we still ended up getting a reduced rate by moving over with GSM. So that had a deadline to be signed by yesterday. We went ahead and did that, and we're asking you to ratify the action.
All right, questions, council?
I spoke with a representative from GSM on this item, and he spoke very highly of the city and the way everything was handled. It was just great to fix this problem that we were having of some underinsured and not insured properties that the city has.
They made it very easy for us.
So, and I don't know how y'all did it, and it's like we saved money on health insurance. I don't know how y'all did it last time with the health insurance either, but
we're hustling.
I don't know what we're doing, but we're saving money on windstorm insurance where that just is not the norm.
We're just shaking up the apple cart. We've done the same thing for a long time, and the creep has come in, and you know, when you shake up the apple cart, you get a little creep out, and you know, we'll probably settle for a few years and do this again in a couple years. We won't stay pat. Switching insurance isn't easy, especially health insurance. So we don't want to do it too often, but now's a good time.
Other questions?
I move to, do I need to ratify it, or is it just a regular motion for that?
Read the top. I move to. Yeah, there you
Move
go.
to approve item 13 as presented.
Have a motion to have a second.
That's why I'm keeping
second.
around.
Thank you. Have a motion and second. Any further questions? If not, we'll call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 2.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye, unanimous. City manager's update. We're not
Okay,
having an executive session.
let's see. It's a long report, as always. How about not long, how about thorough? And I am going to just highlight a couple slides. As usual, everything will be posted on the web as soon as we're done. I'll highlight a couple slides. I'll turn it over to Anthony, and he can tell you the engineer's report, and I'm sure he's going to make his abbreviated as well. I'm gonna go straight to the fire fund, just because that's what we've been talking about. Robbie pulled us a 3-year comparison of participation in the voluntary fire fund right here. You can see it's going up over time, little by little. I think every bit helps. And then on slide 12, we'll talk about the unspent bond funds. I know that we've been talking about that ever since I've been here. Everything is in the works at this point. I think if it's not completed, for example, we're waiting for the weather to change to finish the water tower, but slowly things are getting done, and I bet they'll be done by the end of this calendar year. Nope, I lied. Oh, well, the wastewater treatment plant's a 2-year project, we know that, but that was the big one, but all the other little things that we had on here, we're getting those done, so we'll wrap that up pretty quick. So I think that's a big deal. Is he good?
It's really hard to feel it.
Okay. And then I'm gonna skip through all of this to go to slide 29, and here's what we're working on. Shelley's putting us together a Rockport Citizen University. So 1 day a month, some citizens will come in, and us directors will talk about what we do, how we do it, why we do it, things like that. Hopefully by the next meeting, we will have a large pool for the CVB board for the advertising funds. Tax rate and budget are coming up. Tax rate has to be read twice. Budget only has to be read once. In addition to that, you will have an ordinance to take out the debt that supports the budget that we've talked about. Shelley also is getting us on a new agenda management program. So all of our paper shuffling and emails back and forth internally will be automated. Things will move over automatically from P&Z to council when they need to, and it should make us a lot more organized and make it easier for us. September 12th, 2:30, we're having a Q&A for the special events ordinance. Shelley also has put together, well, I think everybody's helped a little bit on this, a events ordinance guideline booklet, which is fabulous, and I'm sorry? Reagan did that. And it's fabulous, it looks good, it answers a lot of questions, but we're gonna be available to the public to answer the questions that they have on that. And that's all I have. I will answer questions if anybody has any, and if not, I'll turn it over to Urban.
Questions?
There you go.
Hello, Mayor, Council. How are y'all tonight?
Good evening.
I'm not turning my back on you.
No problem. And I'm going to focus on the right-hand column, the changes from the last report, really the highlights and the things that have happened since the last council meeting. So the wastewater treatment plant updates, improvements, we've completed the construction of the digester foundation and completed installation of the second grit screw assembly and scraper. The CDBG drainage improvement project, Project 1 trailer in Thule, contractors planning to meet with TxDOT the week of August 26th to discuss scheduling and coordination for the future construction. Looking for temporary easement to put box culverts on the side of the TxDOT highway and work a utility permit for the Thule drainage ditch where it crosses Highway 35. The South Ann and East Hackberry drainage improvement project, substantial completion walkthrough was completed. They found very minor cleanup items for the contractor to complete on that. So that is 100% completed. The Market at Church and drainage improvements, construction is ongoing. 90 linear feet of RCP has been installed since the last council meeting on Market Street. And the Savinol and Orleans, Laurel, and Magnolia drainage, we are working with Gare Underground to establish a schedule for the Orleans outfall. FEMA Enterprise and Maple drainage improvements, we're still waiting on FEMA comments on that project. The Texas Department of Agriculture, Kluge Trail and Holly Road Street, we've completed all of the survey work. It's currently in survey design. We're getting that info from them right now, putting the sheets together and really rocking and rolling on that project, trying to get that design completed. The FEMA hazard mitigation drainage project, the This is a application for generators. We did receive good news on this. Application 1 for the Rockport Fire Station and Highway 188 Pump Station North Building. FEMA has sent an award letter for funding to TDM. We're waiting. TDM now needs to send an award letter to Langford Grant Management, and then that will come to the city of Rockport. So that's moving forward. That's great news. Urban engineering additional projects. Wastewater treatment plant discharge permit. We are coordinating with the testing facilities and awaiting pricing on the testing to complete that permit process. And there were no plat reviews as of August. Do have some construction photos on the next. So on the left-hand side, there's a grit screw, second grit screw has been installed. In the middle top, that's the Market Street storm drains being installed. Bottom middle, the new office building foundation is preparing to be poured. And on the right-hand side, we have digester walls construction and second scraper installation. And then one more. So this is the digester. Those are the walls going up on the right-hand side, and the slab, complete slab on the left-hand side. And that's all I've got.
All right. Any questions, council?
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Reports from council.
I think they did all the speaking for me tonight, so nothing really to report.
Can't hear Matt anyway.
He says hi.
A personal note, I am working my last shift as a firefighter tomorrow and Thursday, and I get to retire. Well, I'll be done Friday morning at 7 a.m. It's been a fun 24 years. My back hurts a little bit, but that's fine. But I'm a little sad, a little happy, all the fun things. But it's been fun. It's been a good ride. That's really all I have.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Brad.
Thank you, sir.
Andrew, anything?
No, I think I've talked enough tonight.
Well, I'm glad that I could be here tonight. I make a meeting, miss a meeting, make a meeting. Anyway, and have had all sorts of crud. But anyway, I am over it except for being hoarse, and that's caused by some medicine I take. My wife's not over it. She just got over COVID and just got it again. So anyway, we're not going to have an executive session, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. I'll second.
We're done. We're adjourned.
Is that 2 in a row?
That's 2.